You are listening to The Clarity Talk.
Welcome to the first episode of the Clarity Podcast, a place where people from different industries and backgrounds share their experience so that you can get some clarity and be at a better position to make career and life decisions for yourself. Today we have with us Aditya Bose, founder and CEO of ProBano, which provides career guidance to high school students and college students across India. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on my show. Could you please share with the listeners how you started and what you do?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm privileged to be the first guest, as you say, of this podcast. So, I started off in 2018, but there's a backstory to this. So, when I was in college, in my first year as an engineering student, so obviously, when anyone ends up in engineering, it's usually the society's template guiding you. So, if you get a higher percentage after class 10th, you take up science, either non-medical or medical based on what you really like. Then it's what you like. Before that, it's just the society's template that if you have scored a high percentage, you take up either one of the sciences. If you score a medium percentage, you take up commerce. If you score a lower percentage, then you take up arts. So this is the template given to us by the society, and most of us adhere to it. I don't know why, because this is a completely wrong way to judge what you want to take up, but still it is ongoing. Now, because of this template, I did not really end up researching a lot of different career options or even the streams apart from science because I knew I was a high scorer from the beginning. I had always made up my mind to take up science. If you would have asked me when I was in class 11th, what are the subjects in commerce or what are the subjects in humanities, I wouldn't have even known because I never took the time out to research. So
Yes.
my path was cut out according to the society's template, and accordingly, I ended up in an engineering college. I thought I really want to do it because I had only researched about computer engineering and I was so called really good with computers, which meant I was a good troubleshooter of small problems in a PC, which is not at all close to computer engineering. So I was computer savvy, so as to call it. And since I was a high scorer, I always thought that I would make a fantastic computer engineer. So I did not get computer engineering. I got IT engineering in a good college. So I was there, and when I was trying to study computer engineering or computer programming on my own, I was not able to really understand much of it at an instant. Um, Nor was it, looking very interesting to me. So I this time I was in doubt because before this, all the exams that had been taken had been imposed on me. That before 10th you have to study all these subjects. Even after 10th, when I took up science, I took it up to become a computer engineer, but I had to study subjects like physics, um,
Yes,
which were
yes.
mostly imposed. So now I had made my own choice. I had chosen that I want to be in IT engineering, and still I was not, interested in what I wanted to study. So there was this business plan competition which I wanted to take part in, and there I had to submit an executive summary of an idea, of a business idea. So I did not have a business idea. That's why I started asking most of my friends, the hostel mates that I had, that why have you taken up this engineering, mechanical, civil, whatever? Because that was a problem I was facing at that time. I was not really interested in computer programming, even after having chosen it myself, because I had not explored it before. So I had formed an image of it. And that image of it was not real, I realized much later.
Okay. So when
So
you
most of,
participated in this business plan idea, were you
Mhm.
facing that dilemma at that time of whether you have chosen engineering truly or not?
Yeah. I faced it throughout college. And in fact, I later on realized that I have made a wrong choice. So that's where I
Okay.
realized, asking most of my friends, they started telling me stories, which were nowhere related to what they were passionate about, but mostly, how they feel that this will help them earn well and how they feel, this is something which has so-called scope. So I understood
Okay,
that
yes. Hope.
students make their career choices based on either societal stereotypes or parental unfulfilled dreams. And because of that, I thought that let me come up with this idea. So I came up with a brick and mortar school idea, which will provide career guidance. And after iterating it, uh, you know, to appear in different business plan competitions, I finalized this that, I'll provide an online career guidance platform with blended learning, which means a few offline sessions as well to provide career guidance to high school and college students in India.
Well, very interesting journey so far, I would say. I think engineering students would relate to you a lot. Now, since you mentioned about the society's template with respect to marks and that how your score in your 10th board goes on to decide what subjects you'd study in your plus two, I want you to highlight more on the misconception or rather the lack of conception about marks.
I think there's a huge one related to that. Firstly, people don't study for learning. And this is the same case with me. I'm not saying that I'm above everyone else. Most of my education has gone into this only, that I was studying for marks. Even after realizing the fact that I want to start this up, in my engineering academics, I was studying just for marks because I wanted that degree to be with me, even though I don't feel that degree is of much use. It's a different story if I end up learning computer programming later in the day and I become really good at it. Still, that degree will be of no use because I did not learn it during pursuing that degree, and I learned it afterwards. So most of my life and most of my fellow students' lives have been spent in scoring marks rather than learning something. So our learning has been an outcome of wanting to score marks, whereas it should be completely the reverse. Our marks should be an outcome of us wanting to learn, and it should reflect what we have learned. But that does not happen, and sadly that does not happen because parents, society, everyone puts a lot of pressure on you to score marks and get the best admission possible. They don't look at life as a long term game. People just look at the next step. So let's say if I want to pursue a certain career, let's say law for the easier example, they'll always, your parents, your society around you will always kind of push you to choose the best college and make sure that you get admission in it, rather than thinking that, what learning will enable you to become a great lawyer in your lifetime. So the long-term game goes out of the path. They think that, एक बार अच्छा college choose कर लो, एक बार अच्छे college में admission ले लो, life set है. It's not that easy, it's a step. It's a good step if you get an admission in the best law college. It's a great step, but that's not the only thing that you need to do to become a good lawyer. So that needs to be understood, and because of that, I think this whole notion needs to change, that marks are the most important. They are important, but they need to reflect what you have learned, rather than what you have mucked up a day before and have the ability to vomit it into the exam answer sheets. I personally feel, and this is dependent on how different people have their opinions. So what works out for you basically is the right thing. I personally believe that marks matter, but they are not the most important thing. It's almost like the concept of money in career. It matters. So whenever we end up talking about passion, people think that these guys are, asking you to become sages and saints, and they don't want you to earn money. Now there are, if we talk in a binary term, there are two, broad ways to score marks. One is that you study 2-3 days before the exam, which is most of what I have done in my academic career. And you study really hard for the last 2-3 days before the exam, and you remember as much as you can, and then you go into the exam, you vomit everything into the answer sheets, and since you have learned so quickly, you forget also so quickly because you have not practiced anything. You just practice that for 3 days, and that does not reflect very well on your memory. Most of what you have learned during your school and college, you will end up forgetting this way, which is what happened with me, which is what.
And over time, we get better at stuffing and vomiting, this stuffing and vomiting process.
Absolutely. How much of what you learned in school do you remember?
Very few actually.
And same goes for me and everyone, mostly, who was studying during our times or who has studied during our times. So this needs to change. I think, we need to educate our younger brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, and tomorrow, if we have our children, that you need to study for learning, and an examination is the test of how much you know. It does not matter if there is some topper in some class scoring 98. If you have scored 90, and if that really reflects what you have learned, you have won. Your competition is with you. We have created a big deal out of this, and I have been a part of this. Class mein first aana hai, school top karna hai. I tried consistently to stand first in my class, and my only goal in an exam when I sat was this: that how can I score the highest percentage in my class, or score a decent enough percentage to be proud of what I have scored, rather than let me be proud of what I have learned. I would have been, now, in hindsight, I would have been very happy if I would have scored 90% and, learned everything what I have written in the exam, practiced everything thoroughly. that would have been better. I would have retained much of the stuff, and it would have been useful for me. So I really want to kind of put this out there. And it happens the moment you step out of the race. Thankfully, this thought process comes as a part of being an entrepreneur, because when you choose entrepreneurship, you choose to step out of the race. Of the race of formal education, you have to stand first, you have to get the best job amongst your peers, you have to get the best percentage in school. When you step out of this race, you start to look at life from a much broader and a much wider perspective. And that helps you learn these things which are never taught to you in school or by the society or even sadly by your parents. So this is something I have learned. And when you step out of the race, this is something that you learn as well. So your competition is with yourself. Today, if you can score 90%, tomorrow can you score 92 based on what you have learned, rather than competing with that 98 guy? Who knows? Maybe he has learned everything, but you need to compete with yourself and not just score a percent higher than him or her, right? So that's my viewpoint related to exams.
Mm. Wow, yes. Especially when you mentioned that we have to change our how we take up examinations and not look up examinations at something where we want to score the highest, but as an exercise to learn the most. I think if most of the people are able to make this change, a lot can, change. Since you mentioned the word entrepreneur in the last few sentences, let now talk about entrepreneurship. Since you are an entrepreneur, and since many of my listeners would be thinking to start or at least considering the idea of entrepreneurship, I want to begin by asking you that what are some of the qualities that you see in people which would help them become good entrepreneurs in the future? Some of the qualities that they can develop in their early years of life.
There are many, to be honest, and I'm not sure if I can, concisely put everything into the onto the table right now. Maybe from what I can remember, firstly, it would be courage. And these are all the recent conversations I keep having with people. A lot of the people would always, tell me that you were lucky, and yes, I am. I don't deny that, but at the same time, this is escapism. If you think that you were not able to start or you are not going to start because you are not lucky, this is you giving yourself an excuse. If you really want to start, um, you can anytime you want to, anytime, whatever situation your family is going through, whatever situation you are going through, if you want to start, you will start. If you don't want to start, you won't. It's as simple as that. If you really want to start, any excuse is not a good excuse. If you want to, if you don't want to, then that's a separate story. Then you're better off not doing it, because not everyone is cut out for all careers. If everyone starts thinking tomorrow, why am I not a cricketer? That's baseless. So same goes for an entrepreneur. Everyone can't be an entrepreneur. Everyone should not be an entrepreneurship is not, not something that you need any natural talent for. It's all acquired ability. If you were talking about being, let's say, a basketball player, yes, some natural abilities help you, but here there's no natural ability that will come to your aid. Maybe, if you were born in a business family, this is something you have seen over time, so maybe that gives you a slighter advantage. But frankly speaking, even that does not matter. If so, I am a first generation entrepreneur. Nobody in my family is pursuing entrepreneurship, and I don't think that really gives me any disadvantage.
Okay.
So courage is the first thing I would say, and that's the biggest thing, because if you take that step, in the process you end up learning a lot. So if you deprive yourself of that process, then most of what you learn in books is just theory. Before you practice it and you fail a few times, you won't end up learning those things for life or retaining a lot of those learnings.
Yes.
So
Yes.
failing is very important. So courage helps you here as well, maybe mixed with acceptance of failure. I have learned that over my past few years in entrepreneurship. Then there is this keenness to learn, which again comes with courage. If you are adaptable, if you really want to learn stuff, and if you're naturally curious, entrepreneurship is a very good field for you. um, you'll constantly learn something new, because entrepreneurship is coming up with a new innovative concept, and trying to solve a problem which has either not been solved before or something that is not being solved as well as you can. So when you're doing something new, obviously you'll end up learning a lot of new things which are probably not written in books, and or spelled out the same way that you can consume. So this keenness to learn will really help you. Along with that, basic 21st century skills will always help you out. Good communication, good leadership skills, good management skills, critical thinking, problem solving, and empathy. Empathy really helps. Your ability to relate to that problem. So these are all basic 21st century skills that every professional needs to have, and an entrepreneur also. but it always starts with courage, taking that first step to try it out. Part-time, full-time does not matter. So if you're in college, if you're pursuing a job, if you're working full-time, or if you have your current startup and you really want to pursue it full-time, either ways, it's always good to start off and learn along the journey. And once you feel confident enough, you can then take it up full-time.
Okay, so when you started, did you also started as a part-time startup when you were in college?
I can't really say I started a startup. Um,
It was more
but
of a business idea.
yeah, exactly. So in college, I was making stuff. I was not selling it. So I can't really say it was a startup. It was more of
Oh,
like
okay.
a college project, which I really learned a lot from. But um,
Okay.
I was not really pursuing a business. So I didn't make a Facebook page of Pro Bono. I made a YouTube channel of Pro Bono. I uploaded some
Wow.
videos, got some good feedback. That's what I did during college. I made a website. Um, but this was also a learning experience. Firstly, that whenever you start a startup, you have to sell something, as soon as you can. And you have to kind of give a deadline to yourself that I want to sell this right uh, at this time, maybe after 6 months, after a year, but you need to keep a deadline for yourself, which I did not give myself. And so yeah, maybe I started off part time, but that was more like a college project, but still it helped me, you know. The fact
You
that
like.
I, bargained with so many people for so many
Mhm.
services, and I made a few things myself. I learned the basic animation, I learned basic voiceovers, I learned how to make a website,
Okay. Okay, sir.
even if on WordPress. So these were all learning experiences for me.
And you turned that university project into a real startup, into a real company, and that's truly amazing. Okay, sir. Since you have mentioned all the abilities and the skills that is required into this entrepreneurial world, and since also you have had a good experience of this world, you know people from there, you have met people, and you know everything, things of the inside. Could you mention that what is the scene in the entrepreneurial world? What are the prospects of growth? What is there out there for someone who is new to it, and how are Indians taking up this new bandwagon of startups and entrepreneurship?
Thanks Shub, for this lovely question. I think this is something I probably, somewhere inside I wanted you to ask, because um, a lot of the people have a lot to say about it, and obviously people should have a say, but some of it is also coming from a place that they don't want change, and this is something that I want to kind of reinforce. um, Let me put some numbers. 50% of our population right now in India is below the age of 25 years. So we have a fairly young population. In fact, probably we have the
Mm,
youngest population in the world. Then we have unemployability. So a high percentage, some reports say 47%, some reports say 75%, some even say 85% of our youth is unemployable. So unemployability is a problem. Whatever percentage, it's a huge problem. As a result of that, and not enough jobs being created, unemployment is a problem. Unemployment rates are rising every day. COVID has also contributed hugely to that, plus the falling economy.
yes, sir.
So because of such unemployment, uh, and because of the rise in these numbers plus job dissatisfaction, I think creating employment in the coming decade is going to be a challenge for our country. And employment can only be created if we have enough entrepreneurs. So for that, for us to have enough successful entrepreneurs, because employment will be created by successful entrepreneurs, not by entrepreneurs, who come and for 6 months they are there, then they're off. They'll create employment for only 6 months. So for those successful entrepreneurs to exist, there have to be a lot more unsuccessful entrepreneurs. It is, by design only, that if you start entrepreneurship, if you start your entrepreneurial venture, most of the times you will fail. And that is by design. If it was not hard, then everyone would be doing it. So a lot more people need to try it out. That's why the government and everyone is focusing so much on it. People like us are focusing on it, to scout for entrepreneurial talent and to support them as much as possible, because this is needed in India. So entrepreneurship is needed, definitely yes. It should be pursued even more than it is being today. A lot of people will end up saying कि यार ये कुछ ज़्यादा ही आजकल तो हर कोई मुंह उठा के entrepreneur बन जा रहा है, startup खोल ले रहा है. It needs to be there.
हाँ.
हर किसी को मुंह उठा के खोलने की जरूरत है. Maybe some of them will fail,
हम्म.
they'll learn, but
अच्छा, wow. हाँ, yes, sir.
we should try it out, right? So it is needed, and it will, even if you fail, it will end up teaching you these skills which we talked about earlier on. So the scene is very positive. There are so many sectors which still need a lot of change. So I'll give you an example. I'm in EdTech. Probano is career guidance,
Yeah.
is
Yes,
a
sir.
career guidance platform. And in EdTech, a lot of people will say कि आजकल तो EdTech का boom चल रहा है, इसीलिए इतने सारे startups आ रहे हैं. जिस दिन boom नहीं चलेगा, उस दिन लोग नहीं आएंगे. Maybe that's true to an extent. But let us analyze the problem. See, any startup, any business is there to solve a problem. So is is every student in India properly literate? Not on paper. Is every student in India properly literate? Can a 5th class student or 5th grade student read the text of a 2nd grade student properly in English or in Hindi? In most of the places in India, the answer is no. Can a 10th class student easily solve a 5th class math problem? And
Okay.
is it 100%? In most of the places in India, that's a no. There is a test called PISA, PISA, and it happens worldwide to just test out the basic educational math and foundational science skills in students. Last time when India gave it, we nominated 2 states for it, Tamil Nadu and probably I think Himachal Pradesh. Our country stood second last. Out of 80 countries, we were 78th, with countries like
Hmm.
probably Uzbekistan or something behind us. So if
Oh, wow.
78 countries are above us in education, and with we bragging so much about our education system, there are problems existing. And even after so many edtech startups becoming so-called unicorns and everything, that problem still exists. So till the time the problem exists, it is up for solving. So we need many more startups to come and genuinely solve that problem. And once that problem is solved, we need startups to continue solving that problem so that it never arises again. So there is always scope. And right now, even bigger because that problem is not even solved yet. And I just talked about edtech. There are even bigger cases in, let's say, agri-tech or fintech. People have zero financial literacy. Agriculture is, and you can see by the nature of things happening in the country last year, agriculture is not the most, is not progressing in the way it should. There are a lot of problems worth solving. Entrepreneurship should be there and it should grow, and a lot more people should come down on the ground to solve these problems, generate employment. I think our country can, literally change the face of the world in the coming 50 years, and we can become world's biggest economy, because this entrepreneurial wave is what will make it the biggest economy. But it has to start, and it is right now.
Just to add here, we also met at a techno-legal hackathon sort of thing. It was very innovative, technological development in the field of law. So the
Absolutely. I
so
think that
the
was a lovely event.
so the bottom point, which you are essentially saying, that there is a lot of scope, and we should try. If we have an idea, we should try. And even if you fail, you will learn valuable skills and insights of the industry, which you can obviously use in the future. That was really powerful, sir. Having talked about entrepreneurship and marks and examinations, I want to now talk about specifically your field of expertise. In that case, sir, I want you to highlight some of the most common confusions and problems that students face, and if you have any suggestions for our listeners if they face such problems.
There are many, I think. The sad part is that our education system ignores two of the most important and the most important. I won't term knowledge of math as the most important. How to use that knowledge of math is the most important, and we ignore that. We ignore career guidance, we ignore financial literacy. Every person will have a career, so every person needs to know how to make the right career choice and how to make a career plan, how to fulfill that career plan, what skills to build. Every person should know this. Same goes for financial literacy. Every person has to pay taxes at some point or the other in life, should make investments, so they should know where to make these investments. So these two aspects are completely ignored, and by the time we come out of school, come out of college, that's when we have to learn through our own practical experiences. And a lot of the stuff
Hmm.
that we learn in schools, we never end up using. So this definitely needs to be included, and we are working on career guidance, which I believe is the most important component of education, because you might not even end up earning a decent amount if you don't have a good career. So a lot of the students, ask very different questions. It starts with very open-ended questions. Okay, I'm really confused. What should I do? It's very general. What should I do? And it can relate
That's
to
the
anything in
essence of
career, in
everything.
life.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So that's a very good point to start with. At least you're questioning what should I do. Many people are very confident with what they really want to do, but then they end up knowing after 5, 10 years that they did not even have an idea. They were just going along the flow. which is not always the best strategy. Um, so some of the students will ask really specific questions that, I have taken this stream, let's say commerce with math. Is chartered accountancy the only career option for me? Some people will ask that if I have taken up medical sciences, becoming a doctor the only career option for me. Then there are specific cases, we also work a lot with rural India. So there are specific cases, some of our female students in ITIs or even in school are married. Um, so they'll ask questions like that, I want to do a lot, but my
Okay.
um, parents or my in-laws are not allowing me to do so. What should I do? There's a lot of domestic violence at home. Sadly, there are, still a lot of social ills which exist. If you read stuff on paper, there are a lot of people, who represent India at many places, and they will obviously, they'll only point out the good things that are happening. But inside, we should know what are the social ills that exist, so that at least we can remove it. If we just keep dancing thinking that everything is solved, then we won't be able to solve for the problems which exist because we are ignoring their existence altogether. So a lot of the social ills exist. Many of the women in rural areas, um, especially from states like Rajasthan, Haryana, etc., will end up asking that you are giving this career guidance, but I don't think we'll be able to continue even schooling after or college after class 12th. So a lot of these issues come up, especially with female students. Then in a lot of places, they will say that I want to pursue something, but my parents are not allowing me to. This is common with both female and male students of ours. Um, so a lot of these questions come up, and our endeavor is to always give them simple solutions, very straightforward. So we give them a black and white answer, because if we give them too much of a gray answer, they themselves get even more confused. When you seek answers, you want a very direct answer. So we try our best to give them a direct answer by understanding their situation and help them solve for their situation by supporting them not only through our advice but also by staying strong with them. So if they need us to talk to their parents, we do that. If they need us to talk to their in-laws, sometimes we do that as well. We visit homes, we make sure that we are persistent. And this problem, the problem of not being able to choose the right career options, the problem of job dissatisfaction, unemployability, high school dropouts, all these will take time to get solved. It's a gradual process, so we believe in giving that time, and we believe in giving direct answers so that as soon as possible these problems are solved, at least in some centers, and it's a trickle down effect where this solution spreads across India.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, sir. And I think it would be good if we end this conversation on a positive note, and all of us would agree on this if I say that there is a lot which needs to be done in the education sector, and the way that we are taking up studies. Most of the students who have a completely wrong notion of how to take up their career decisions and everything, and I think this is one of the reasons why we see so much problems in with people in their midlife, and people have midlife crisis when they feel like, I don't know what I was doing for so long and all of these things, right? And therefore, just to end on a positive note, could you give some suggestions from your side to students, let's say someone who is in class 10th or maybe class 12th? What should he or she do right now to have a more fulfilling and a more meaningful life, let's say 20 or 25 years down the line?
So this is something that we cover, in our first session of career guidance, which is called Introduction and Self-Exploration. So you start off exploring a lot of different activities, especially when you are in school, because you have the time to do so. Sadly, when you are 26 or 27 or 30 years of age, you'll still have that pressure of earning for your parents. So, you might not be able to explore as much because you're spending a good 7, 8 hours in just earning and a good 7, 8 hours in sleeping. So that's most of your day. In school, you're spending maybe 7 to 8 hours sleeping and another 5, 6 hours in school. After that, it's totally you're left to yourself. These days, some of the students have tuitions as well. Maybe that takes up another 2, 3 hours of yours, but it's not particularly pressurizing. You don't have to do a lot of active work. Sometimes in tuition also you can zone out of stuff. So you have a lot of energy, a lot of time to do things which you don't get later on. So explore a lot of different activities, try out dancing, singing, anything which you feel that might be of interest, and figure out what you really love doing, what people don't have to force you to do, and out of that, what you really excel at. what are people praising you for, what are people seeking your advice on, what are giving you tangible results, and try and pursue more of that. You'll be happy, you'll want to pursue it, you'll grow your ability, and you'll learn a lot. Approach learning with a very open-minded and warm nature, rather than kind of despising it and only studying it a day before exams. um, that will really help. And finally, there is this quote which I always kind of stand very strongly by, and this is not mine, obviously such a good quote can't be mine, but this is something really useful. So I heard this somewhere: dream big, work hard, and stay humble. And I believe that this summarizes the whole endeavor in life very concisely. That this tells you everything that you need to do in life, in a way, within just like six words and a sentence. So yeah, this would be my small suggestion or advice, however you want to take it.
Wow, wonderful. It was really amazing to have this conversation with you, sir. Finally, to everyone who is listening this, dream big, work hard, and stay humble. If you have any closing remarks, sir.
Failure, success, it's mostly like part of life. So a lot of the times when you are struggling with stuff, you'll feel like, why just me? But then you look around yourself and you see 10 other people struggling with their own stuff. It's always good strength. So the way you are struggling, we are also struggling with different situations. So don't be sad, just be happy and enjoy life, and keep doing these things which we earlier talked about.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, audience, for listening. This was your host, Shub Gautam. Keep listening to the Clarity Podcast.